Diane, 9 a.m. Preparing to board Flight 210. Commuter flight, 15-seater. Arriving in Spokane at 10:15 a.m. One meal, breakfast. Eggs, sausage, toast, jam, juice, and the usual coffee-scented hot water. What airlines do to coffee shouldn't happen to a dog, so I'm packing a hot thermos from the commissary. Case number is 11219er. You'll have a copy of the file on your desk by the time you receive this. Victim, 17-year-old white female, dead, bound, and wrapped in plastic. Cause of death, unknown. Says here she was the homecoming queen. Second victim discovered alive was found across the state line, which is why it's our business now. Suspects are in custody. We'll assess their value upon arrival. Diane, I understand the air is so clear out where I'm going that you can see across 2 states when it's not raining, which is most of the time. So I've packed a pair of the businessman's friend, totes for the feet. I've been scanning active files for the region. Note possible correlation to a murder last year of one Teresa Banks in the southwest corner of the state. Had all the trappings of a serial killing, except for one, a second body. Maybe this is it. Teresa Banks died a year ago, almost to the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 19 of Nerdy Show. Hi, I'm Hex.
Triforce Mike.
Cap.
Brian.
And with us on the phone, we have Matt Haley, who is a comic book artist of some renown and also a Twin Peaks fan extraordinaire who almost did the impossible. We'll get into that later. Now, what started off the episode was a little snippet of the Twin Peaks main theme, followed by some dialogue by none other than Agent Cooper, a.k.a. Kyle MacLachlan himself. And those are excerpts from Diane, the tapes of Agent Cooper, the Twin Peaks audiobook, and we'll be hearing some clips from that, all strung out throughout the episode. Cool. Yeah. Following that, we had the song Twin Peaks by MC Chris, which he released this most recent April Fool's Day. I had actually given up on liking MC Chris's music. I used to years ago, but then I stopped. But this song is easily the best piece of fan music for Twin Peaks, or in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
No, it's incredible, I know.
Yeah, he MC Chris, he usually just, does this thing. He's like, I'm a nerd, I smoke pot, and then it's like, oh my god, how many songs can you do of that? I like Fet's Vet, where he's actually just not laying out references, he's just getting deep into the mythology of Star Wars, and then he did it again with Twin Peaks,
And the Beetlejuice song last year.
Yeah, and so it's taken him 10 years to get back into his groove. But, Stella gets a groove back, you don't ask how.
Or maybe at least once a year, every April Fool's Day, you'll have a decent MC Chris song.
Yeah.
Which, I guess that's okay. We got this Twin Peaks song.
But enough about MC Chris.
Yeah, enough about him. Whatever, he only does one good thing a year. Let's talk about Twin Peaks.
Oh, my God.
Twin Peaks is one of the greatest television shows ever. It actually redefined what can be done with television. And the reason we're talking about Twin Peaks now is, first of all, it's Twin Peaks' 20th anniversary this year, but also the game Alan Wake came out recently, and we haven't been able to stop talking about it.
Oh,
and of course,
so good.
It's very, very influenced by Twin Peaks. Now, Matt, have you played Alan Wake or heard about Alan Wake?
I've heard a little bit about it, and I've seen the Bright Falls, the viral stuff they've done to promote it.
Yeah. What did you think about that, the Bright Falls?
I thought it was well shot. I didn't really understand how it was promoting the game. That's just my own honest opinion, but I thought it was very well shot.
What Bright Falls does is it explains how a certain dynamic of the plot works. It lets you know where the enemies that you encounter during the game, the Taken, how they come from and how they absorb people. It's kind of...
I understand how viral marketing works. I just always felt like that maybe the game should explain that itself, But again, I think it's a clever way to get people into the game. I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah, I'm only just got through the first chapter of the game, and that stuff is in the game as well. You don't need to see that video to truly understand it, but it really just psychs you up. I watched Bright Falls right before playing the game, and I was just psyched. And then when I started to encounter the Taken, I was like, oh shit! And then it did explain why they were taken in game as well. But but with both, it really just made a better experience.
But one of the incredible things.
So the Alan Wake game is. I'm sorry, gentlemen. So the Alan Wake game is basically Twin Peaks, the video game. Is that kind of the tone?
In a lot of ways, one of the big unifying factors between the two, the show and the game, is that they have strong themes about darkness, fear of the dark, fear of the woods, and sort of primal human fears about the darkness in oneself and the darkness coming to get you. There's many aspects of Twin Peaks, such as the teenage tragedy of Laura Palmer, and a lot of the, say, UFO elements, and other things that don't show up in Alan Wake. Alan Wake's very selective about the parts of Twin Peaks that it has, but it has the small town dynamic, and it is peppered with Twin Peaks references, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But they actually managed to take some of the strongest aspects of Twin Peaks and make them an interactive experience. First and foremost, the Alan Wake game is actually interactive storytelling that uses video game contrivances to tell the story. It's a story first and a game second in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it really strong. I enjoy the gameplay, but I also recognize that it is gameplay. It's a means to an end, but it puts you in the story. It makes you feel threatened as you're experiencing these things.
Like a lot of things, like the combat and like the puzzles are very typical video game stuff. But the plot and how you get from point A to point B and the general looming fear is almost straight out of Twin Peaks. It feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's I've played through the entire game and I loved every minute of it. I can't even really stop talking about it just because I'm so impressed with what they were able to accomplish. The world needs more things like Twin Peaks. Even though the game itself exists because of Twin Peaks, it has its own unique story and its own unique take on the concept, which is very original. And I know that the sort of dark mysteries and the fear of the darkness and all that, they're plots that come up again and again. And I know I've written a number of things myself that when I saw Twin Peaks for the first time, I was like, God damn it, someone's done this already? Those things happen.
Yeah, well, I was playing Alan Wake, and Alan Wake's wife, she has a fear of the dark, and I was like, what is that called? Everyone says I'm afraid of the dark. What is that called? So I actually got on my fancy smartphone and Googled what the phobia is called, and it's such a common thing that has existed from the beginning of time that it doesn't have a name.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, if you have a pathological fear of the dark, his wife did, it's nycantophobia or something. But that's just such a human thing, is to be afraid of the dark, and I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting.
And so I think that it showed up in your writing. It shows up in Twin Peaks. I think that it's going to just show up in mythology for humankind for the rest of time.
It's a similar thing that Alan Wake draws reference from is H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Obviously, yeah, with that fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, fear of the primal, of that which existed prior to civilization.
And one of the interesting things is combine H.P. Lovecraft with sort of the story of a successful horror writer like Stephen King, which Alan Wake is in a lot of ways a parody of. Not parody, but a reference to. Then you have John Carpenter's last good film he ever made, In the Mouth of Madness, which is an H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King-inspired story about what if Stephen King's writings came true. So then put all those together and you have Alan Wake. All in all, an original game out of a concoction of other things that I really love. And so now we're going to play a track, Hex, if you'll let us know what that is.
Yeah, I wanted to let everyone know that we will be slowly announcing some Nerdapalooza performers during this episode. And doing so, we will be playing songs from them. What we have next is Random Encounter, the local video game cover band that is out of Tampa. They came to Nerdapalooza in 2008. And anyone who went will remember them as the group that cosplayed with the frontman looking like a Final Fantasy Black Mage wielding an accordion.
That sounds awesome.
And this is their track, Song of Storms. And I just thought it was so phenomenal because it actually uses an accordion for the Song of Storms from Zelda. That's just so awesome.
And what you just heard was Go by Moby. That's from his debut self-titled album from 1992. And the reason we played you a Moby song of all things is that this track samples Laura's theme from Twin Peaks, and it adds a dark groove to a really fun and exciting dance song. If there's ever a song you want to, I don't know, have in your earbuds when you're being chased by a rapist, it's this song.
I will keep that in mind next time that
Yeah, have it
rises.
queued up.
Yeah, it's like you're walking through the park or whatever, and you just put that on because you know Bob's gonna be coming out of the lodge. He's gonna be coming for you.
So set on my iPod Run Like Fuck playlist.
Yes.
On the go? No, thank you.
No.
Run Like Fuck.
Yeah.
Now, I found out about Twin Peaks years ago, but it took me ages to do anything about it. When it actually came on television, I was young, and it would have destroyed me. I'm fairly certain I couldn't have handled that.
Oh, it
level
would have
of-
totally destroyed. See, here it was an interesting thing because my mom, she loved it,
Right.
and she would never let me watch it. And so I have to admit, I still have not seen Twin Peaks. But all this talk about it, I'm going to go home and queue it up on Netflix immediately.
Yeah, and to all of our listeners who haven't seen Twin Peaks, it's readily available for free on a number of online services, and you should watch it. It is amazing. Mike saw it the same time that I did.
Yeah.
But
It was just a little bit before my time. Like, I was all about X-Files, and I would have been all about Twin Peaks. I don't know.
yeah.
If it wasn't Star Trek Next Generation, I wasn't watching it.
Now, Matt, what was your Twin Peaks experience?
You know, I first discovered Twin Peaks when it came on the air. I saw the pilot, and at the time I was watching, like Starman, the TV series. Whatever garbage was on at the time. I was just ready to go to college.
I didn't even know that happened. That's
And
crazy.
right, exactly. And it was just so different. I used to just go for science fiction. That was all I wanted to watch. And so normally I wouldn't have gone for something that was set in a small town and was so suffused with Americana. But it was the first TV show that had sort of cinematic storytelling devices in it. It was such a beautiful show as compared to the other stuff that was on TV. And I'd always been interested in film, and I mean that's what I do now. And so at the time, I was, studying film and watching a lot of, Jean Cocteau, Fellini films, and trying to be very artsy. And what I saw in Twin Peaks was just this gorgeous show shot by someone who clearly was interested in cinema as opposed to typical, the way they shoot a TV show where it's a master and then an A and a B close-up. So I got sucked in by the way it looked. And then you get to the second episode, that scene in the Red Room, and I was just never seen anything like it. It was so visceral and so deep with its visuals and the way that David Lynch used music to tie the story together. So yeah, I was hooked from the very beginning. And then when it came out, the first 7 episodes I think came out on DVD from Republic Pictures a couple of years ago. To be able to rediscover the show, it was a completely different experience for me.
Yeah, it's just so good. When I had heard lots of people talking about it, and when Cap said, "Here, we're gonna watch this," and he put it on, I was just sucked in by that first episode, especially the crazy ending with the backwards speaking midget and just say, he's just like,
Actually, what Mike did, unfortunately, was you saw the European cut, didn't you, of the first episode?
Not for the first. What I did was, because we had the DVDs with us.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we watched that, and then
We're in the basement, yeah.
Yeah, and then I watched the other version, the European version, because I was like, what was cut out? And what they do is they compress the entire 2 seasons into like a 15-minute epilogue.
A hot second.
A hot mess.
Yeah.
And spoiled some stuff like Bob and certain things, but it didn't really.
Mostly the reveal of Bob, but not what Bob is or how Bob works.
And so, but still, it was so good, and man, just yeah, gum, your love is coming back in style. It's just like,
So Bob is really Bob Dylan? Is that what you're...
no, Bob is the creepiest, greasiest, long hairiest, maniest, rapiest man you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So Bob Dylan.
How about you, Brian? When did you get exposed to Twin Peaks the first time?
In my crazy college days, but I only got through the first season, and then situations conspired against me watching anymore. I was very sad.
Have you still not finished the season?
I still have not. I've just never gotten around to it.
It is.
Man,
I know, I'm a
amazing.
lesser human being for it. I feel bad every single day.
Well, you're still a season up on me, man.
I love Twin Peaks, but it is one of my favorite shows, definitely. But it is not a perfect show by any means. Because some of the
Hey, now you leave the second season alone. It's not that bad. Come on.
yeah, I don't know, like putting,
It isn't that bad.
It's not that bad, but I'm just saying it's not perfect. Like I wasn't a fan of the giant chess
Well, the
piece.
first 7 episodes, I mean, they're near perfect as far as hour-long television drama because they worked very hard to set a tone for the show. And from when I was talking to Mark and Bob Engels, they didn't think they were going to get a second season, so they worked really hard to just get to a stopping point in their story and establish a mood. And when they got to their second season, they got their deal for, I think it was 14 episodes, 16 episodes. They ran into the same problem that, say, Battlestar Galactica had in this third season, where they just didn't have enough story. And suddenly they were faced with a position where, oh, God, now we got to kind of this out. And that's why some of those episodes in the second season, they're not the best. They had to kind of pad the story out of it.
Yeah, and I get that feeling, and I don't really fault anyone involved. It's just I feel that there are certain things that people might not take seriously.
When David Lynch and Mark Frost had to leave the show, as far as the full attention went, things did get a little bit weird.
Well,
because,
it's not really what happened. I don't mean to step on anybody. That's not really what happened. Mark never left the show. Mark was involved in the show from A to B.
Oh, I thought he was called away for a film.
David didn't really leave the show until the network canceled it, but it's not like he went off to direct a film or anything. He was so unhappy with the way the network was treating him that he kind of went on strike. But no, they were involved end to end. But I mean, the guy who was doing the day-to-day operations, it was Bob Engels, who was their executive story editor himself. Yeah. But he had marching orders from Mark and David. All right, here's where the story's going to go. Here's what we want to do. So that's why I find it funny when fans will say things like that, or they'll read interviews where they say, "Oh, well, Mark and David kind of abandoned the show." And that's just simply not true.
Okay, yeah, I thought I'd read something that they were both ended up having sort of film obligations that sort of didn't have them leave, but sort of turned the direction away. Okay.
Nope.
Wow,
bad intel.
Not till the show ended. Yeah.
That's
he was in pre-production on Wild at Heart, but he didn't leave to go shoot it until the show was over.
Because I remember hearing some, like, maybe it could be just like bad, like Cap said, bad intel from upset fans on the internet, but
which is very likely.
This is probably just the source of it, but I could have sworn that like some of the actors felt that they had been like betrayed.
Oh, they did. Absolutely. Yeah, they really did. Again, because when the network, was it ABC, I guess, it kept moving the time slot around to the show, and they kept telling the writers, you have to solve the murder of Laura Palmer. And, of course, David was dead set against it. He felt that the murder of Laura Palmer was incidental to the show.
Yeah, he called it they killed the golden goose.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, Lynch will admit himself that he's not necessarily a writer. Ever since Dune, he wasn't, considered himself more to be a visual artist and especially a painter. So he wasn't running the writing room. That was mainly Bob. Frost was mainly involved after the first few episodes as kind of a line producer. He was running, the day-to-day operations of the show and then setting the tone, the broad strokes, and here's where the story's going. But it was mainly Harley Payton and Bob Engels and guys like that that were running the show from day to day. I think the reason why the actors might have felt abandoned by Lynch is that that's Lynch's personality. I understand. I've never met the man. I know his producers really well, his assistants and stuff, and I've spoken to him, but I've never met him. So I'm not talking like somebody who worked on the show or anything. But my understanding was that he had kind of a mercurial attention span, as a lot of artists do. I certainly do, and he probably didn't give. Actors are very temperamental creatures, and they want a lot of hands-on attention from their parents, who on a TV show are the producers and the lead director. So, but since I wasn't there, I don't have any idea. But my impression from everybody I've talked to, especially guys like Bob and Harley, who was there day in, day out, is that David Lynch didn't abandon the show.
That is...
He was kind of forced out.
That is awesome to get it like that, to hear it like that. You just dropped some truth bombs on me, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I feel much better. About the entire show, really.
I mean, I do wish that Wyndham Earle had been as threatening as he was, as say in the book, the autobiography of FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper.
Oh, and such a good actor, my God.
Yeah, he was a really good actor.
It's a shame they had to shoehorn him in like that, but I don't know, it worked. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the only.
I thought Wyndham Earle was a great villain.
I liked Wyndham Earle as a concept, and I liked a lot of his scenes, but some of the stuff he did was so cartoony, like.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
That I just was like.
It undersold how legitimately threatening he was as a person.
Yeah.
Because
You didn't like seeing him beat the crap out of Leo with that cudgel?
Oh, that was solid.
Or shock him with the dog collar. Come on.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was definitely good. But I guess it was just when he put what was it? Ted Raimi in a chess piece.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, right.
I was just like, what am I watching? Is this a Looney Tunes?
Where's the beer, man? There was going to be beer.
Now, Matt, who's your favorite character in Twin Peaks?
I'm sorry, who? Me?
Yeah. Who's your favorite character, if you can possibly have?
Oh man. Character? Well, I really like Big Ed, honestly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sort of sad scenes at the very end when Lynch came back for the final episode, and they basically threw the script out and just directed it himself and basically wrapped up the show. They're all standing there in Ed and Nadine's living room, and Ed thinks he's going to be marrying Norma. And Mike's sitting there with Nadine, and Nadine's had that conk on the head when she gets hit by that sandbag at the theater after the end of the Miss Twin Peaks contest. And she looks around and realizes that she's Nadine again. She's not 18 in high school. And you see the look on Ed's face because he loves Nadine, but he's in love with Norma.
Yeah.
And he wants to be with her, but he's so committed to taking care of Nadine. And you can see his shoulders just sag like, oh, no, I'm trapped with this woman again. There's nothing I can do. And I like sort of the sad irony of that. Plus, I like that he was a boy. You know, I'd have to say that. I mean, everybody likes Agent Cooper, and Cooper's a fascinating character, but, I think it's Big Ed for me.
Big Ed's kind of an anchor in the show. He's one of the few people who's just a grounded, normal, good person who has some crazy shit thrown his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing dark or evil or bad about Ed at all. I mean, even the Sheriff Truman had a little bit of a darkness to him, but no, Ed was just a stand-up guy.
Yeah. Who's your favorite, Mike?
Audrey.
Your dick leads the way as usual.
Always. I don't know. I think it was when she in the pilot when she just puts on that creepy song and starts dancing to it like a weirdo. I was like, I'm in love. I'm in love with this crazy weird girl, and then everything that she did in the show, I was just like really into, and I wanted her and Dale Cooper to hook up, even though she was in high school. She was 18 though. She was a senior.
Kyle MacLachlan, he wasn't into that though. He thought that was something that Cooper would never do.
Yeah, maybe.
Wasn't he dating Lara or something, and she had a problem with it?
I haven't heard that spin of things. I heard that Lynch was insisting that they should get together. That's where he was directing their plot line, and he was like, I don't think Cooper would do that. And
it was Bob Engels, but yeah, I got the impression, I can't remember, something like MacLachlan was dating Lara Flynn Boyle briefly, right toward the end of the first season, right when that storyline came up, where we find Audrey in bed there at the Great Northern, and she's obviously in love with Agent Cooper, and I got the impression that Lara Flynn Boyle was like, no way, if that happens, we're breaking up. But it was Engels' idea. To the best of my understanding, it was Bob's idea to do that. I think it would have worked. I think it would have been really fun.
Yeah, I agree, and I was really hoping that was what was going to happen. It would have really
sexy.
Yeah, my God.
Definitely a conflict of interest.
He didn't look 18.
No. None of them look like children. In fact, it's awkward when I think in the first season they actually had some kids who were high school age, and that just didn't quite work. My favorite character is actually kind of weird. My favorite character is Jerry Horn, just because he's every scene he's in, I just love everything that comes out of it.
The attorney?
Yeah, when he comes into Ben's dining room and he's got those sandwiches that he flew in from France, and everything just stops, and he's like, "You have to eat this sandwich. I hate these."
I had 4 of these today. You have to try this. It's a baguette with brie and butter. I know, and the whole relationship was about eating food. And the great thing about Twin Peaks, and especially a lot of the stuff didn't come from Lynch, it was Mark Frost. He wanted to drop red herrings into people's characters so the audience had something to be misdirected by. That's why there were so many quirky characters. And that's the strange thing about the show. A lot of people think that weird stuff is Lynch. It's not. It's Mark Frost. A lot of the Theosophist stuff that came up in the second season, that was all Mark.
And I wonder if that's why characters with weird eccentricities carried over into X-Files. Because, David Duchovny having,
that's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, because Mulder was always on the phone with those sex lines and stuff. And it was just...
the porn tape.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it was always because he's really into finding his lost sister and UFOs and stuff. But then he is always was getting phone calls from sex lines and
Yeah. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Of course, Twin Peaks has a massive fan following. The magazine wrapped in plastic was a really long-running fanzine, and just devoted exclusively to Twin Peaks and Lynch and Frost-related productions. And every year, still since 1993, there's Twin Peaks Fest in North Bend, Washington. It's happening this year.
Which I've never been to, and I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, someday, man. Someday I'm going to go. This year it's happening.
It's supposed to be great.
August 6th to 8th. Yeah. So far they've announced they're going to have Michael J. Anderson, the little man from Another Place, Jennifer Lynch.
All right, let me stop you right there. Is he still alive? I could have sworn he was dead.
I thought so too, but he's on the guest list. So maybe they're having a seance.
All right.
They're exhuming him just
He was great in Carnival. Did you guys see that HBO miniseries Carnival a few years ago?
I heard great things about it. I didn't know he was in it. That sounds great.
Michael Anderson was the guy who ran the carnival, and he was.
They gave him, he did an amazing job.
They gave him reams of dialogue. It's fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
Carnival, another one that's just totally amazing and just beautifully done.
Other guests include Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter, who wrote The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, which is an amazing book and one of the greatest pieces of literature about teenage tragedy that I've ever read. It's brutal. This book will fuck you up. And she also she has a strong involvement with the Twin Peaks Festival. She debuted her film Surveillance there back in 2008, so it's kind of a big deal. Also, they're going to have Kimmy Robertson, who played Lucy, and Charlotte Stewart, who played Betty Briggs. So that's just the guest list so far. It's a pretty cool experience, but it is a bit pricey because you're paying for the celebrities to be there. They feed you, and they take you on a tour bus and show you all the sights and everything. But all in all, a massive experience that I someday hope to, have myself.
I want to have a massive experience.
Shut up.
It's supposed to be great. It's supposed to be really great.
Yeah. We're going to play some music right now.
And who we have is we made a whole new category of performer for them for Nerdapalooza. Because we got headliners, we got sub-headliners, we got normal artists, we got pre-party guys. For these guys, new category, local headliner.
That's right.
Who do we have perform at Nerdapalooza? Yep.
Yeah,
wow, awesome.
Experimental giants Yip Yip, who though they are a local band in Orlando, have national attention in the experimental genre.
When I first heard about them, it was while I was designing the page layout for them at my school newspaper in Northern California.
Yeah.
That's when I first heard of Yip Yip.
Man. Which one are we playing?
These men wear disguises and have just fantastic performance. We're playing the song Sprinkle Council from their newest album, Two Kings of the Same Kingdom.
Diane, 7 p.m. The Double R Diner. This must be where pies go when they die.
Diane, 6 a.m. Please add the following sound to my master tape labeled Sounds. Canadian geese, Diane.
Oh!
I think I've been spotted.
And what you just heard was Goodbye World, parenthetically referenced, of Warcraft by Super 8-Bit Brothers. They're from Chicago, and they are going to be on tour with the Proto Men.
Awesome.
And so they'll be here at Nerdapalooza.
Yeah, just come funneling it all in, funneling all the nerd love in.
That's amazing.
Now, Matt, aside from being a tremendous fan of the show, there's a special reason that we have you here. And that is that you are the individual who almost got Twin Peaks a third season in comic book form. How did that happen?
That's kind of like almost winning an election, isn't it? Kind of unfortunate. That's one of my claims to fame. Yeah, I did. And we the only reason it didn't happen is that Lynch said no. But it's kind of an interesting story. Back when if you want me to go into it, the first 7 episodes came out on DVD. I had been watching the show on like fear.net or some website or whatever, and just really getting back into it. I hadn't seen it since it had first aired, and I was just hooked again. You guys know what it's like. You really fall into that world. You really want to be a part of it. And I started watching the first 7 episodes. I bought them, and I'm sitting there watching them in all their glory, and hadn't seen the European edition before.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I knew that the rights... Excuse me for a second. I knew that the rights to the show were all over the place, and they weren't under any one roof. But since they came out with that box set of the first 7 episodes, I knew that meant, well, the rights situation has probably been sewn up. They're going to be doing a box set, I just know it. I'm sitting there watching these episodes, and I'm thinking, God, got to be great. You know, the show got canceled in the middle of a story. Like, wouldn't it be great if somebody found a way to do a graphic novel of the third season of the show using the writer's original notes and kind of putting the story together, and God, it'd be fantastic. And then I paused and went, hey, I do graphic novels. And so for about months, it became this kind of intellectual exercise. I wasn't really taking it seriously because I knew I was going to be told no, right? So I started trying to kind of half-heartedly figure out, all right, who has the rights to a Twin Peaks comic book and where do they exist? And it turned out that my old friend Paula Block, who was the Star Trek liaison at Paramount when I very first drew Star Trek comics for DC almost 20 years ago, she ended up working for CBS Paramount in their licensing division, and it turned out she was the person I had to talk to. She's a friend of mine.
Wow.
And I told her what I was thinking of doing, and she said, well, let me have a look. She warned me in advance. She said, there's a trail of broken hearts where Twin Peaks ancillary product is concerned, but let me look and see where the rights lay. And about a week later, she called me back. She said, you know what? We have the rights to do a Twin Peaks comic book. Now, they're going to tell you no, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the rights. So I didn't even have to pay for them.
Oh, wow.
So for, I think, about 18 months, I had the rights to do a Twin Peaks comic free and unfettered. But she said, you know, if you can get Lynch to say yes, it'll be a minor miracle. So at that point, what I should have done, should have immediately gone to Lynch's office, and I should have said, let me do this, and it would have saved me 6 months of heartache, because I really wanted to do this. I just poured my guts into it. And that's what I get for playing with somebody else's toys. But what ended up happening is I got a hold of Mark Frost, partly through the guys that did Wrapped in Plastic, and I'm trying to remember who the heck it was I talked to there. I found Mark's assistant like on MySpace or something idiotic like that and got in touch with him. And, you know, I had just finished doing Superman, and I had art-directed that Stan Lee's Who Wants to Be a Superhero TV show. You know, I had done a couple of things in the media, so they at least knew who I was. I wasn't just some guy coming at him out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Mark, and he said, this is a really fantastic idea. I can't be a part of it because I'm not a producer or writer anymore. I'm a novelist, so I can't write it for you. But if you can get David Lynch to say yes, then go with God. You have my blessing, and you can put my name on it.
That's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Wow.
So I said, all right, that's fantastic. So I had one half of the two people that I needed to approve the project. So the idea behind it is that even though Frost and Lynch do not own Twin Peaks, they have right of first refusal on anything that has to do with it. That's just the deal they made when they got the show together. And it's frankly an unheard of deal.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, if I've got Mark Frost involved, I want to wait and I want to get all my ducks in a row and then go to David Lynch, just hoping that, okay, look, we've done all this work. There's no skin off your nose. You're going to get a piece of it. All you have to do is say yes. Well, I didn't understand, you know, the depth of David as an artist and how committed he is to his art and how angry he is at ABC for the way he was treated. But that didn't really come into it. So I've got Mark Frost. I've got an idea. And through Mark, I got a hold of Bob Engels. And like I said, Bob was one of their co-executive producers and their story editor, and he ran the writing room. And he and Harley wrote a lot of the episodes. So I sat down with Bob and had told him the idea. And at every point in the process, when I kept expecting someone to tell me no, they kept saying yes. Well, then Bob said, yes, what a great idea. I'm sorry?
That's got to be a strange experience.
It was weird. Like I said, I wasn't taking it seriously, and after a couple of months, I had this project that had sort of, you know, grown up around me. So Bob thought it was a great idea. He said if I could get David Lynch to say yes, that Bob would write it for me. And I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to do it, frankly. I was going to draw it, and I had an art and color team together and everything. But I knew that I couldn't just do a third season of Twin Peaks written by me. Who cares? I didn't work on the show. It had to be Mark Frost, David Lynch, and especially Bob Engels, because Bob, I think in many ways, has more of an intimate knowledge of the show than even Mark and David do because he wrote a lot of the episodes. So we took Bob's original notes for what they were going to do for a proposed third season and knitted together, I think it was either a 64 or an 80-page graphic novel.
Wow.
That didn't necessarily wrap up the story, but it addressed a lot of story points. It did resolve what happened with Cooper being possessed by Bob, or Cooper's doppelganger coming out of the Black Lodge. What happened to Sheriff Truman, and also they wanted to get the high school situation there, so we actually go ahead in time a little bit. So Bob and I knitted together a plot, and then I had to figure out, all right, can I talk CBS Paramount into doing this? So I called Ryan Adams and I can't think of the head producer's name there. Told him we were doing. Wow, what a great idea! And you have the rights, so this is fantastic. I tell you what, we're too late in our process to add it to our DVD packaging, but if you can get it printed, we'll buy a bunch of copies from you, and we'll just shrink wrap them with the DVD, which I thought was fantastic.
That was with
So then I had
Top
to find a
Shelf, right?
publisher. I'm sorry?
And then the publisher was Top Shelf, right?
Top Shelf, Chris is a friend of mine. I went to him and said, I've got this idea. What a great idea. So this is going to be new Twin Peaks material. Yes, absolutely. All right, I'll tell you what. We'll print this for you. And then I went back to CBS Paramount, and I said, great, we'll order 150,000 copies.
Cool.
You know, we immediately were going to be a best-selling comic book. So I had a production budget. CBS was ready to make it a part of their packaging. I had an art team together. I was just going to do little layouts and lazy. And I had the marketing figured out. I was about to do a sort of a co-printing deal, like a limited edition thing with Borders, and it was all looking really great. So, you know, basically over 5, almost 6 months, we had the deal together, and we were just almost running out of time. We would have had just enough time to get it done. It would have been a bit of a marathon, but we still would have made it. And so then finally the time came around. I've got to talk to Lynch about this because I've got to get him to sign off. So I get a hold of him through his producer at the time, Jay Ossing, there at Asymmetrical, and sent him. We had our book pitch, and I had done some pitch art, which I think is probably on my website somewhere. And I just laid it out for him. Here's what we're going to do, but it wasn't from a standpoint of, I'm a huge fan of the show and I really want to do this. It was like, this is why this is going to sell. This is why this is no skin off of David's nose. This is why people are going to love it, and we're not trying to infringe on their marks in any way. But look, we've got everybody else that is involved with the show that wants to do it. I mean, I talked to Angelo about doing a limited edition CD with like a new piece of music.
Whoa.
Sounded like he was into it. It would have, yeah. I mean, I really needed it to be a third season of the show. Shoot it, then we can always do it as a graphic novel.
Oh my gosh.
So I sent the material off to Jay, and Jay said, all right, I'm going to give it to David, and I'll call you when we get some notice from him. And I got to say, it was the longest week of my life waiting for the phone call. So Jay calls me, and I'm sure you guys know where this is going.
Yeah.
He said, well, you know, David thought about it long and hard. And I suppose that's something I can take home with me, is that he thought about it long and hard. Guys like David Lynch get pitched this stuff on a daily basis, and he just says no out of turn. But that, you know, David looked at the stuff that I had done, and he read the pitch, and he really said, all right, I'm going to take this home over the weekend. I'm really going to think about it because this is a great idea. Ultimately, he just decided that he couldn't or didn't want to continue the story of Twin Peaks in any way. Now, as a fan of the show, I can appreciate that because, frankly, I kind of like the way the show ends. It's kind of a big FU to the network for the way he was treated. At the same time, as a businessman, it really crushes me because, man, it would have sold.
Yeah.
It would have been huge, you know?
Yeah,
So, but ultimately, no, it didn't happen, and that's the story.
Wow.
So you had the entire third season basically plotted out to a certain extent, then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think... We didn't really get to a conclusion. I think we wanted to leave it open-ended because we were hoping to maybe do a miniseries after the DVDs came out. But we did get to a stopping point in the story, and it was really cinematic. I don't know how far you guys want me to go into it.
I would love to wring the entire thing out of you if I can.
Well, again, it's been a couple of years now. I don't have my notes in front of me, but from what I recall, Cooper ends up getting out of the Black Lodge, but for the first 15, 20 pages, we see Cooper's doppelganger. He's not possessed by Bob necessarily. That was left kind of unclear, although that was sort of where we were left with at the end of the show. But, you know, the serial killings start occurring, and it's clear that it's Cooper who's committing them.
Oh, my God.
Sheriff Truman comes out of his sort of psychosis, having dealt with Josie's death. And he had already kind of gotten back to work, but he was kind of a different guy after that. And his best friend, Cooper, acting this way, causes him to kind of come back to his senses. And at one point, he has to drive Mike, the one-armed man, backwards through the portal into the Black Lodge to kind of break Cooper out of there. We find out later that Bob and Mike are from a planet made of creamed corn, which I found was a really bizarre image. I don't know how they were going to make that work.
Yeah, that I've heard that, and that's really confused me for ages.
Yeah, I know. Cheryl Lee was going to come back as another character, this time a redhead, and she was also going to get killed. But the biggest thing is that they needed to get away from the high school stuff. They just felt that had kind of run its course.
Yeah.
And so what they were going to do, after Cooper got broken out of the Black Lodge and Annie was comatose and just never kind of came back, we cut to 5 years later. And everybody's graduated from high school, and we're kind of out of that. Cooper's left the FBI, and he's the town pharmacist. Harry Truman had since advocated being sheriff and was kind of a recluse. Ben Horn, an activist, had given away all of his fortunes. And I think Audrey had ended up staying in the hospital for an extended period of time because she almost got blown up by that bomb in the safe. So, but I'm combing my brain and I'm trying to think of some of the other things that happened. I think the biggest thing is they wanted to get away from the high school nonsense and have the same characters in the town, but have them have radically different positions in life.
So Donna and James, etc., had all kind of grown up, and thereby bypassing them being the Scooby Squad.
I don't remember what happened to James. I got the impression that he wasn't really in the story. I don't remember him being in the script that we had.
How did Audrey narrowly escape the explosion? It seemed so fatal.
She didn't. She just was injured very badly. In fact, I think she was either in a wheelchair, kind of like Donna's mom, or had a walker or something. But no, she was scarred as a result. We had a scene where Ben Horn and Audrey are side by side in hospital beds and holding hands. I'm trying to remember why Ben was in the hospital.
So when
I'm sure we had John Justice Wheeler come back. I never really cared for his character. I don't think he added anything to the show. But again, it was kind of Bob's decision at that point.
Yeah. Driving Mike backwards into the Black Lodge, is that to free Cooper? Is that why they did that?
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to figure out a way to force the opening open because it could only open under certain influences, and it was like that particular night was when they could get into it. I'm trying to remember again. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have the notes right in front of me, but it was a really cinematic scene. It was the sort of thing that I would much rather have shot as opposed to drawing, but it would have been a lot of fun.
Right.
Jeez, man. I wish this had come out.
I know. But, there were a lot of fans who didn't want it to come out. When I started doing interviews about it, I started getting a lot of grief. People saying, well, this would have been stupid, because that's what science fiction fans are like, They're never happy no matter what you give them.
Yeah.
True.
And I honestly think, while it would have been a lot of fun, I'm kind of glad we didn't do it. And there's no point in doing it now. The only reason to do it at the time would have been to promote the DVD, the box set. Financially, people don't buy comic books these days in any great numbers. It just would not be worth the time or the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's being the comic shop guy. Comics do all right, but it's usually the tie-ins or the continuations of series and stuff don't really resonate with the general comic reading fans. They resonate with the fans of that show who also read comics.
Right.
So
Which
they
has a narrower margin.
Right, it's a very narrow margin. It has to be someone who reads comics and also was a fan of the show. And then boom. Like every now and then you might be able to get some crossover, some bleed in because Buffy fans or Twin Peaks fans are sometimes fanatical and they'll get everything. But it's not. If you can do something awesome like getting it bundled with the DVD set,
then there you go.
Then you're solid at that point.
An interesting almost happened that was discussed with Nerdy Show, though not on the air of it, was when we were talking to Daniel Way. He told us that he spoke to Earl McRock and W.D. Richter, who created Buckaroo Banzai. And
I know Rick really well, yeah.
Yeah, he said that he approached them with the concept of a Buckaroo Banzai comic. This is back before Daniel Way wrote all the mainstream Marvel titles that he's become famous for. And and he got very close, but then I think it was Richter's...
Joe at Moonstone.
Yeah, someone's agent said, oh no, you shouldn't have him do the comic for you. You can do the comic yourself. And so then, Daniel Way actually kind of lit that fire and then ended up with McRock and Richter doing their own comic, which has been fabulous. If any fans of Buckaroo Banzai are listening and you haven't read the comics, you must check out the comics.
Yeah, I did the cover for the first issue.
Yeah, exactly.
And as Brian just said, also read the Buckaroo Banzai book.
Yeah, much like the Twin Peaks novels, the Buckaroo Banzai novel is a wealth of information that will blow your mind. Matt, now we've talked about what you have almost done. What are your current projects that you're working on?
I'm gonna have to be a real killjoy and tell you that I can't talk about it. And I know people say that to try and make themselves sound like they're successful or they're popular. I have I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's a blaxploitation sci-fi, how do I put it, trailer. I don't know how to put it into words because it hasn't been released yet. We're probably 2-3 weeks away from the release.
Wow.
I can't talk about it. I'm really sorry. Here in a few weeks, Yeah, I'm a director these days. I don't do a lot of comics anymore. I'm illustrating books. I've got a book out in bookstores right now called Badass. We're doing the sequel, and that's from HarperCollins. I just secured another Penguin. That's going to be an interesting book about violence. I just illustrated The Dangerous Book of Heroes for William Morrow. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing these days. Comics, I'm out of the business. Yeah. But I'm directing these days. I have a production company. We're getting ready to do a small feature this fall, and I wanted to do something fun to kind of prime the pump with my crew and my staff and everything. And so we're doing a blaxploitation sci-fi project, and that's all I can say. If I say any more, I'll ruin it. I don't want to be, the guy who's got a secret. It's more just like I don't want to ruin the surprise, and when you see it, you'll understand it. It's going to be all over the web here in about 3 weeks.
Well, keep us informed. We will definitely pimp that. That sounds amazing.
Oh, sure. It's a lot of fun, man. We had a great time. I had some really ridiculously talented actors, and we did science fiction for pretty much no money. Awesome. And it looks great. It's not because I'm some kind of genius. I just stumbled across the right people. And so now I've got this great production, and we're going to go in and make this feature. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, Matt. It's been a real pleasure.
Not at all, guys.
Thank you so much, man.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you, man. And so the song we're going to play right now is an amazing piece of fan love by a professional musician for Twin Peaks. This is Fantomas, and their cover of Twin Peaks' Fire Walk With Me. Now, Fantomas is a experimental metal supergroup fronted by Mike Patton, the lead singer of Faith No More.
What?
Yeah, this is from their 2001 album Director's Cut, which features a number of metal covers of cinema music.
That sounds phenomenal.
Sounds amazing.
This is the Fire Walk With Me theme from the Twin Peaks film.
I gotta check out this album.
Yeah, it's incredible, and this song will make you, I don't know,
pregnant.
It'll make you pregnant, and you'll wake up in the woods, and you won't know what you've done.
Yeah, you won't know what you've done. You're in the woods, and you're pregnant.
Enjoy.
With a deer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what we just heard was the 2008 performance at Nerdapalooza of Nerdlust by none other than Schäffer the Darklord. And here to talk to us about his lust for Twin Peaks is none other than Schäffer the Darklord himself.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on, dude?
I am having a good time. I'm just having a killer day today in New York on this holiday.
Okay.
Is it going to matter that I mentioned today's a holiday, even though this will probably
We just
air?
screwed up our entire continuity.
That's right. You want to wrench in your plans, you call the right guy.
Oh, you are a master of evil, so I wouldn't expect anything less.
No, I'm. You never stop studying. So I'm always learning new techniques at evility.
So, exactly, how did you come across the title of Dark Lord?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, and one to which I've never formulated an appropriate answer. So, and I think it's best left to mystery that I not try to
Were you
quickly craft an origin story.
drawn into the Black Lodge and an evil being has taken over your body and making you do awful things?
Yeah. Now you're talking.
Just a theory. Just a theory, when you look in the mirror, do you see Bob's face? I'm just
I gotta say that my initial the thing that sucked me into that show specifically was the Black Lodge and all of the evil entities therein. So it spoke to me immediately.
Now,
Perhaps it could have perhaps been a considerable influence on leading me down this path toward the dark arts, which I now still indulge in my adulthood.
well, how do you feel about cream corn?
Creamed corn. Man, creamed corn freaked me out enough as it is already. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in rural Iowa. And so creamed corn already, kind of instilled some weird fear and dread in my heart. But then to see it menaced in such a creepy scene with the little boy magician who clearly is playing David Lynch. I don't know if you...
That's
sure we all
It's
agree
David
on
Lynch's
that.
son, also.
Yeah, and he's definitely playing his dad.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Boy, that just made cream corn that much more unnerving.
So it's definitely synonymous with pain and suffering for you.
Oh, absolutely. All my pain and suffering.
Creamed corn is pretty awful.
Yeah.
It is. It's horrifying. It looks awful. It should be good because, cream, corn, wonderful things. Put them together, pure evil.
It looks like if
Similar situation with corn nuts.
Yeah, well, not as bad. The corn nuts aren't as. I mean, cream corn.
The worst though is creamed corn nuts. Do not do that.
But seriously, cream corn looks like if I could ejaculate corn.
That's exactly how I've described it to my grandparents. If Michael could ejaculate corn, this is what it would look like.
Brian, why aren't you eating our creamed corn? It looks like.
Reminds me of Mike's corn laden ejaculate.
Look, I got to level with you fellas. It's Memorial Day. I've been drinking since 11 a.m. in the sunshine. If you go any further, I'm not going to be able to hold anything down.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's change subjects.
Let's switch gears to the music Nerdapalooza end of things.
Yeah. So you just recently, a while ago, released Manslaughterer, which was a phenomenal album.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that.
Oh, I said you recently destroyed. You recently released Manslaughterer, which was a pretty successful album at least from my end. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, thank you very much, Hex. It's been a slow burn as far as sales. It kind of came out, and a bunch of people said, "Huh?" And I feel like some people have been a little bit more word of mouth with it in the past few months because it's starting to. I feel like more people are starting to pick it up, which is great because that means I don't have to enjoy the immediate pleasures of a release date because it just keeps going for about a year because it's like 12 new people hear it once a season. It's spring. I have 12 new listeners.
12? Man, he's outdoing us.
Yeah, he's got 3 times as many listeners.
Shut up.
And we listen to our own show. So
yeah, look, you guys. I'm just saying, if you guys have ambitions on making it here in Hollywood, you better step it up if you want to reach the non-level of success of mine.
Well, anyone who has
12 new listeners per season. That's 48 in a whole year.
Oh man!
Anyone who hasn't seen Schäffer the Darklord perform live needs to
Kill
attempt to see
yourself.
Schäffer the Darklord perform live. Yeah, and kill yourself if you just don't think that's feasible.
First thing you should do is kill yourself, and then you should make sure you see him perform.
As a
You'll
ghost.
see him in hell. when
Yeah.
you kill yourself.
Yeah, he pretty much runs a show down there.
Yeah, much like the Lost timeline, hell is also non-linear, so
Yeah.
he will be there at some point, and then you will see him no matter when you die.
And you just go there and just rock out. No,
I do 3 shows every night. In hell.
So simultaneously.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
It's a hard life. Showbiz is a hard life.
the first time I saw you perform was 2008.
2008.
2008 Nerdapalooza, and
Okay.
you stole the show, and you turned my heart black with love, and it was amazing. And then pretty much one of the best experiences of my personal life was when you played in front of a comic shop, and turned that furniture rental store, which was your backdrop, into just this stage of amazing, just performance of just your onstage energy. Just
Wow, you were getting tripped up. It's so good.
it was. I'm just getting a rage boner thinking about it.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. I loved Nerdapalooza last year. Oh, yeah, that was last year.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. My proper set was fun, and getting to do a bunch of the sort of online collaborations I've done with the people in the flesh was a lot of fun. But that show at the kickoff party at a comic shop was such a blast. The weather was perfect, and I had wireless mic so I could run around the parking lot. And everybody was there, and I hadn't seen everybody in years, so it's this weird, dysfunctional high school reunion thing, and we're all like making out and wearing each other's clothes, and then I get to do this show, and there's comic books there, and God smiled upon us all.
Yeah, you tore that parking lot.
And that was so much fun. That night was so much fun, and it was just a great way to kick off just the best weekend of last year.
And a downright spectacular performance. I echoes Mike's sentiments. In fact, I'll go on record as saying that Schäffer the Darklord is the best live performer in the nerdcore genre. I strongly feel that.
Easily.
Oh, Mike, you're too much, and you flatter a boy.
There's a stage
Well, you
presence.
sent us each $50 to say this.
Well, I am my own least favorite act at Nerdapalooza. My favorite act is always Hex, and
Especially his descent into madness as the weekend goes on.
Oh my gosh.
I love the crescendoing energy of the audience every time we get a second chance to do the high Hex bit. With each passing installment of that over Nerdapalooza, it just gets more fevered. I feel like there were people like punching each other like it was a football game. They were like, oh yeah!
Definitely, like the first night, it's like, hi, I'm Hex, and everyone's like, hi, Hex, because they're like waking up hungover, but then like at the end of the night when everyone is just like rip-roaringly drunk, it's like, hi, Hex! Like you headbutt the dude next to you, you push down the little girl and you stomp on her.
It's like they might as well be chanting USA.
Oh my gosh, this is definitely.
Oh no, hello?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Was that one of those death throw things?
Answer.
Hey.
Hi.
Hold on, I got this.
Hi. I don't know what happened.
It's okay, we'll pick up the pieces. There's a clean break.
All right.
Hex just needs
Check
to get
this
back.
out. The last thing that I said, though, which I thought was hilarious,
Sure.
was that at the end of the night, people were chanting high Hex as though they were chanting USA.
We got that part.
Yeah, we got that, and we all
Dude,
laughed really
I
hard.
think we should go with the first take. I think I was much more killer the first
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah,
It was.
There's a pretty clean.
Freaking hilarious.
Yeah, there's a pretty clean break, so we're gonna like.
No.
Just run with
We're gonna count it, and then I'm just gonna jump in with a new train of thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
3,
It's going to be
2.
magical.
Well, Schäffer, I hear you're actually not just bringing yourself to Nerdapalooza this year, but you're also bringing with you some scantily clad women.
I am bringing some very scantily clad women who are awesome.
Coincidentally, guys,
Like,
I'm going.
Wait, really?
They're,
I mean, I know it's an 800-mile trip, but
they're
secondly, I
awesome.
just really want
In
to
New
go.
York,
Cool.
I'm involved in the burlesque community. I do I guest host lots of various shows. But last year, my friend Nelson Lugo and I started our own troupe called Epic Win Burlesque. And it's very nerdy ladies doing very nerdy acts and very nerdily themed shows.
Well, I remember the video game themed one. It's in a very hot Carmen Sandiego.
Wow.
True.
She took off that trench
And-
coat. Showed the goods.
And I don't really. That was Lefty Lucy. She's one of our performers, and she was also that in the video game Vixen show, which was our first show. She did a Carmen Sandiego act that really brought down the house.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's,
I don't know. I haven't really confirmed what acts the ladies are going to do at the Nerdapalooza show, but
Don't care.
there's a possibility that the Carmen Sandiego act is coming. So I don't know for sure. So
Hex,
I can't make any.
here's what you need to do to make my dreams come true. Book Rockapella now.
Yeah. Seriously, Hex.
It's not too
Pella?
late. Rockapella, the guys from the Carmen Sandiego television show, the Doo-Wop group.
Oh right. Yeah, and she her Carmen Sandiego act is done to that number.
Oh man. Wow. That's awesome.
Sick.
A million educational boners were had.
Yeah.
So we've got we're bringing 5 members of our cast. We're bringing Lefty Lucy, also Magdalena Fox, Miss Mary Sin, BB Hart, and Victoria Privates.
Every now and then
That's a stage name.
I get a Facebook invite from you to like come to
Oh,
this
yeah?
burlesque show, and I'm like, oh my god, There's like ladies dressed up like Batman. I gotta see this, but it's like
Rule 63.
it's in New York, and I'm like, I am in Orlando, so I just close my eyes.
There's been this big, like, in New York in the past, 10 years, there's been this big burlesque revival, which has kind of spawned this new flavor, which is less fan dance oriented and more exploration of, pop culture references and doing kind of weird, challenging material called neo-burlesque. And these performers are all actively involved in that genre of burlesque, and it kind of indulged our original idea by coming up with acts, these video game acts for our first show. But then since they're just killing it. They bring it so hard, and they've all come up with these new acts for our cartoon show, our Batman show, and next month our Ghostbuster show. And they're going to be bringing kind of a mixed bag of these acts for the Nerdapalooza show. So there's a nice cross section of everything that we've done.
Nice.
And of course, the show is co-hosted and co-produced by my friend Nelson Lugo, who is a magician who is doing his. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's doing his portal trick.
Oh, nice.
Which he did at our video game show.
And he's coming to Nerdapalooza too?
He's coming too. He's co-hosting the Epic Win Set with me.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a future that you could see where we'd see a Twin Peaks burlesque show?
We've been brainstorming up like the future shows that we're gonna do, and since you guys asked me about Twin Peaks last week, it got me thinking about Twin Peaks again, and started thinking like, God damn, it would be so sick to do a Twin Peaks show.
Yeah, some cherry stem wrapping.
I've got to sell it to Lugo, because Lugo's not. We pretty much only stick to themes that we can both share in the same levels of nerd passion, which is what has stopped us from doing a Star Trek show, because I'm going to level with y'all, never been much of a Star Trek fan.
These things happen.
So
I won't judge you.
I'm not a fan myself.
He's not the big Twin Peaks fan that I am, but he's still, I think, kind of open to it. I might have to like strap him down for some weekend and like make him watch the series end to end and say, "Now let's start putting this show together."
Yeah, because you could have a girl wrapped in
won't know the difference
plastic.
between fantasy and reality by the end of that, so yes, do it.
There's so many incredible characters that would lend themselves to burlesque numbers.
You can do Garzambonia wrestling.
Twin Peaks universe.
Diner girls. Oh,
Midgets.
man. Yeah, backwards speaking midget.
There'd be a Shelley Johnson act. There could be an Audrey Horn act.
She is beaten by Leo.
Yeah. No, she pushes
Leo,
Leo in a wheelchair. All right, and he just sits there while she dances for him.
And then Leo's a sexy girl, it turns out, and then they make out.
Oh man, with like a bald cap on and a ponytail.
The number ends where Leo like pops back in his chair, spits on the floor, and says, "New shoes."
Oh wow, yeah. I would go to New York for that show is what I would do.
I want to tell you my slightly pervy story about Twin Peaks. You want to hear that?
I do.
Yes, please.
I so do.
All right. So when I was in, it's not even that good really, but when I was in high school, which was 75 years ago, I was never one of those kids that wanted like guys who were like 21 buy us beer. I'd always have these friends that would be like, "Oh, we'll go get some older guys to buy us beer." So I never really cashed in on having an adult supplied to a minor. But I was in high school when Twin Peaks originally aired on television, and the Playboy issue with Sherilyn Fenn came out. Of course, played Audrey Horn on the show. It came out, and I finally was like, "That's it." And I went to an 18-year-old, and I was like, and it was like I was conducting my first drug deal ever. I was like, "Dude, come here. Please don't tell anybody this, but will you please buy me the Sherilyn Fenn issue of Playboy?" And he did it, and he was cool, and he gave it to me like all stealth-like, and I felt like I was such a badass, and I was doing such a cool, like, dangerous thing. It was awesome. And then I got the Playboy issue, and Sherilyn Fenn was naked in it because it was Playboy, and hell yeah!
Yeah, those pictures are awesome. I have seen them on the internet.
Yeah. Oh, I might have to go take a little trip down memory lane after this and go check them out on the internet.
Oh man. So do you have any musical projects in the works?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. So
Oh, sorry.
the question was, do you have any musical projects in the works?
In the works? No, I've been working on some new songs. and I've started up. I have a backup band for some select shows in New York. It's a 5-piece backup band called the Darklords that play kind of rock infused versions of some of my older songs, but we're mostly now working on new stuff. So that's really it. I mean, I'm writing my own songs like I normally do, which is slowly. So
they are meticulously crafted.
What's that?
They are meticulously crafted.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think I'm just kind of. I have a motivation problem. So I'm working on new songs. I'll have a bunch of new songs to share with y'all at Nerdapalooza. But then I have been rehearsing with my band, the Darklords, and we just did one show with our new bassist, and we have another show later this summer. So that helps me keep my songs feeling new to me, because it's not like I just kind of come up with the song and then I go and do it a bunch of times. I have to kind of learn it a second way and then play it with a bunch of maniacs who live in Queens.
Are any of those instrumental tracks gonna show up on the internet anytime soon, or have they already?
I haven't. Yeah, we only have some rehearsal recordings that we just use for our own reference, and there's a live show that we recorded. But I think eventually, hopefully early next year, once we get like a few more songs under our belt, I might go and record an album, studio album version of all the songs with the band, and then release it so that I can also try to make money off songs I've already made money off of. Again, ha ha ha.
The American way.
But I do want them to. I do want to record something with them, because the songs are very much they feel different. There's still enough elements musically to remind you of the source material. They're different, and it brings a whole different energy to things. And I think they're pretty. I think those guys are awesome.
Awesome. Well, I know I, for one, just like these guys, I'm really excited to have you back for Nerdapalooza.
Yay!
I can't wait to party with you. I can't wait to see you live.
Do you have any other cool Twin Peaks stories?
Do I? Well, I can tell you this. I told Hex this, bragging on the phone the other night. Is that I was thinking about watching the series again. Right on the we were texting. That was an irrelevant detail that I stopped my story to correct. Anyway, so I was talking about watching Twin Peaks again recently, as I was thinking about doing the Epic Win Burlesque show with Lugo, and I was reminded that I have the entire series. Obviously, I think a lot of people will have the whole series at home, but I never bought the DVDs. I have VHS tapes. Not VHS tapes that I copied, mind you, but VHS tapes that I recorded off of television when the show originally aired in 1989 to 1991.
That is positively
I
brilliant.
still have them. I have all of the commercials that was on the air 89 through 91. I watched these tapes. I watched the entire series multiple times through college. And then beyond college with friends, it'd be like, oh, you never seen Twin Peaks? Well, buckle up. Time. We ain't got shit to do. But I have them originally recorded off of ABC in 1989.
That's fucking wonderful.
Wow. Those commercials must be something special.
They're crazy. Maybe I'll digitize some of that shit and post it on the internet.
That would be amazing. I mean Twin Peaks fans are pretty ravenous. So if you were able to post them, here's the original section of commercials that aired between like these segments of this episode. They'd fucking eat it up. I know I would. So.
They really would. It's very easy to manipulate nerds' passion.
Yes, it is.
So true.
You only have to mention a few magic words that are like, they're always in 2 words. It's like original ending or first edition. And immediately it's just like their eyes start spiraling, like they're getting mesmerized, and there's like little vortexes, and you're like, haha, you're under my spell, Earth person.
Alright, I think we've gone over for the segment, so we will cut it there. Thanks so much.
Okay, cool.
Really appreciate it, dude.
Oh my god, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Sweet. I'll see you in July and have a great Memorial Day party.
Thanks, man. I can't wait to see y'all in July.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be real.
I'm gonna be nude.
Bye.
Alright, good night, guys.
See you, man. Bye.
1, 2, 3.
So I'm in the movie theaters with Diana, and we passed by a Jonah Hex trailer poster. Like, I'm starting to get excited about it. Diana, not so much. We see a trailer for Jonah Hex. I see Megan Fox, I'm like, oh, and she gets excited about it.
Because she has a massive
she
clitoral
loves
erection for Megan
Transformers,
Fox.
too.
She
I
loves
guess-
Megan Fox.
I guess so. I
She's
don't get it.
she's like monkey toe thumbs,
But she
booty
can't act,
shorts.
and
I know. And every
No,
time I
no,
see her in
all the
trailer-
acting is done with those massive thumbs. They have their own brains. Each one, okay? It's like a stegosaurus tail. But no,
Megan Fox is the least of your problems with this
What?
film.
yeah, no, seriously.
Is it the giant Gatling guns he has strapped to that poor
it's
horse?
everything.
I do
mean,
have a problem with it.
Yeah, that is goofy. But like the
Goofy?
real problem is that he's got like these weird supernatural powers.
What?
He can
And
talk to the dead. in this
Yeah.
film.
What?
And that Jonah Hex is not a superhero.
No.
he's just a cowboy with a fucked up face.
I
and-
also hate that like his eyes are even. Like if you're gonna
Yeah.
do Jonah Hex, one has to be like freaking freaked out.
well, you know, that's
One
arguing like
thing that really bugged me about the trailer is, okay, it starts off with his family getting massacred, and so he's pissed off about that, understandably so.
Cool.
All of a sudden, he also loves Megan Fox.
Wow.
Which one
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Are you
he's
are you
got
filled
a,
with rage or with horny boners?
he's got like a family that he's upset is dead, but then he also like
But not that upset,
has like a
apparently.
favorite concubine. What? But yeah, the I've read a lot of Jonah Hex comics, and
Because they're cool.
they're awesome. And what they
Mostly.
are is they're just cowboy stories.
Right.
Unless something stupid happened where he's like, you know, fighting ghosts or in like in the weird Western tales like he used to do, which wasn't even that bad. And then, you know, one time in the 90s he got sent into the future and that was called Hex.
See, I'm okay with like Jonah Hex in Brave and the Bold,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
he's time traveling or Batman's time traveling. There's some kind of time travel,
Yeah.
but I'm okay with it
Yeah.
because it's Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, it's a fun show. But
And how the hell else are you going to introduce Jonah Hex?
it looks like this Jonah Hex movie is based off of 2 series that came out in the 90s published by Vertigo about Jonah Hex, which were not that good at all. And Aaron and I were talking about this, and we have a theory that, you know, the guys shopping around Jonah Hex, they're like, oh my god, Jonah Hex is a brilliant fucking comic, we need to get this made into a movie. They go to the producers and they're like, hey, we want to make Jonah Hex a movie. And they're like, oh, it was a comic book? What's comic booky about it? This is just badass cowboy stories. And they're like,
No one wants to see badass cowboy movie.
and it's like, no, that's what's cool about it is it's a badass cowboy story, and he's got a fucked up face, and it's just good cowboy stories. Like, why not just do
No
it all-
such thing.
They're like, no. If this is based off a comic book, it needs to have some superpowers and some supernatural stuff. in it."
Where's the glitz? Where the kid's going to like it?
Yeah. And so I think
Give
that
me the Transformers chick.
because they want to make it a comic book movie, he's got, you know, weird powers that he inherited from the Crow. And
They basically they said, we'll take the Crow and the Punisher.
and set it in the Old West.
Yeah.
And it's I like the Crow and I like the Punisher
And I like the Old West.
and I like the Old West, but I don't want them all living together.
And pretending
like
to
it.
be something that they're not.
Yeah.
I like ice cream. I like corn. I like pork. I don't like them all together.
Yeah, I like cream and I like corn, but I don't like creamed corn.
Exactly.
All right, well, what you got for us, Hex?
Welcome back. What you just heard was Just a Game performed live at Nerdapalooza 2009 by none other than Steffo of My Parents' Favorite Music. And I'd like to announce that one of the artists returning this year is My Parents' Favorite Music.
Oh yeah.
People, what? Yeah. People may remember.
But who are they?
Well, they're not.
I know that they're your parents' favorite music, and that's cool that your parents are into this kind
No,
of stuff.
but
But
it's-
what's the name of the band?
It's a super group of like Glenn Miller and most of the cast of Lawrence Welk.
That's not my parents' favorite music.
Oh,
They're
yes.
all
my mom
dead.
was the
Cap.
Ramones.
This is going to get weird.
My mom was
Sorry, I was thinking of the band my grandparents' favorite music.
Oh, sweet. I like my great grandparents' favorite music. You know, just you know, traveling
Harp
gypsy
shop.
music and like, you know, just campfire songs and in Romania.
Wow, I hope I never hear that in a dark room.
I have heard that in a dark room.
Speaking of hearing
He
that in a
liked it.
dark room.
We learned to like it, is what I'm saying.
Let's have a little brief discussion about paranormal experiences.
Why?
Well,
This is gonna freak me out, man.
I think you're gonna freak everybody else out. I know you got stories.
Oh man, dude, it's like when B goes down and everyone floods into X.
Okay, I got one. Here's my paranormal story.
Sure.
One time where I'm driving down the road, right, and it's late at night, and there's no bars in my cell phone, but a call comes through anyway. It turned out I had like a fraction of a bar.
Then who was phone? Who was phone?
The call was coming from within the car.
It was Charlie all along.
Oh no, creepypasta.
So, Twin Peaks had a lot of paranormal elements in it, and in fact, it got it had its own mythos to the show, and a lot of things it was doing, basically within its own universe, didn't pertain to anything outside like Sasquatch or anything like that.
I thought it was a documentary series.
Yeah, it was. The U.S. government has silenced a lot.
Well, wasn't it technically a prequel to the X-Files, because we see that David Duchovny was a man, then a woman, and then a man again.
Yeah, this is true.
Man again.
That's because he is history's greatest acting robot.
One element that did of legit paranormal mainstream stuff that started showing up in Twin Peaks and didn't actually get the resolution that it needed, like many things towards the end of the series, was UFOs. And there was
because they wrapped that up in X-Files.
Exactly. Well,
they're planning ahead.
Mark Frost, the co-creator of Twin Peaks, of course, went on to produce Chris Carter's X-Files, which was one of the shows that is a direct descendant of the filmmaking and cinematic elements that Twin Peaks brought to television.
I think you mean Mark Snow. You said Mark Frost.
Yeah. Wait.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Mark David Chapman.
Mark Schäffer.
Yeah. Exactly. All these people, they all wrote X-Files.
They're all one person.
Anyone named Mark? Duh.
Is it with a K or a C?
Yes.
It's a CK.
All of the above. Yeah. Anyway, X-Files, paranormal experiences.
Right.
We all, I think, between us, we all have some kind of portal
Clash.
to. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any things that's happened to me personally where I could say irrefutably I didn't understand what was going on. But I do have a story passed down to me by my mom. Back in the 1970s, she used to. She's very involved with Native American cultures and history and so forth. So she and my dad were in a group of teepees camped out in the forest somewhere.
This is creepy already.
And believe it or not, despite camping out in teepees in a forest in the 1970s, they're both really straight-laced, so no drugs or alcohol were involved.
Oh, now it sounds boring.
But the teepees were arranged in a circle, and what from the sky must have looked like a circle of light dots in a large, expansive, darkened forest. And they were looking up into the sky and saw this bright light object swoop down in a very, very fast motion and hover for a while, and then accelerate in kind of an upward arc that was and is still completely unfathomable for modern aircraft. So given the layout of how they must have looked from the sky, it seems like something that an otherworldly observer of some kind would definitely be of interest to. And I mean that's the closest that anyone I know has come to some kind of legit paranormal experience, except for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think my phone story was more real.
Well,
well, before we get into the legit stuff, do we want to hear my secondhand story?
Sure.
Well, so you're with your honey and you're making out when the phone rings. You answer it and the voice is, "What are you doing with my daughter?" You tell your girl and she say, "My dad is dead." Then who was phone?
That's what you meant. Okay.
Take a look at that.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. While you guys are checking that
Oh,
out,
thanks, Anon. That was crazy.
I have never experienced anything paranormal. I'm rather empiricist, so I don't really believe any of this kind of hokey paranormal, what you do stuff.
Right.
However, my friend Tyler back west.
I don't think Tyler's real. We keep hearing these stories about him, and no one's ever seen him.
This is a different Tyler. This is This is a crazy man that knew a lot about
Tyler's,
physics.
this is so made up.
No, I know several.
Move forward.
Move forward. Anyways, and
on
Best
trucking.
Friend Bob can collaborate that Tyler's real. Anyway, and that Tyler's crazy.
Okay.
Tyler has in his closet a whole bunch. I saw this one time. He may have gotten rid of it because he showed it to someone, and he may have had to go to Plan B, which was hiding it all.
Really?
But he had a closet filled with shoe boxes. And all these shoe boxes were labeled different paranormal things. Like there's one labeled werewolves, one labeled zombie, one labeled UFO, one labeled Frankenstein. And when I tried to correct him on that it was actually Frankenstein's monster, he just glared at me.
No, because Frankenstein...
These Frankensteins.
Yeah, Frankenstein monsters are easy to deal with.
You're
But
done.
the problem is Frankenstein. He's
Right.
got a fucking lab. He's just cranking out monsters.
It might have been actually referring to mad scientists that he just for ease put Frankenstein. I don't know.
Yeah,
He showed me
yeah.
the vampire box, and when I asked to see any of the others, he wouldn't let me. But it was some weird stuff. There wasn't like what you'd expect.
Why wouldn't he show you the other boxes?
Because in case I turned into one of them.
So he was certain you weren't a vampire, though.
Right.
He'd seen you during the daylight.
Because why? He's seen you in sunlight. You crossed the threshold without being invited.
I guess.
You had garlic on your food.
Didn't count salt when you dropped the
Yeah,
salt shaker.
count all the sunflower seeds as David Duchovny knocks them on the ground.
That jerk. But yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't show me the zombie one. Because it was pretty obvious I wasn't a zombie, and if I turned into a zombie,
I don't know if it's that
I
obvious.
wouldn't remember it.
I don't
You're
know.
kind of pallid.
No.
It depends on maybe every other item in the boxes was just a gun to kill himself with.
Yeah, there's the ultimate zombie defense.
No and Tyler, no.
Destroy the head before it dies.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, tell us your
Yeah.
ghost story.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna preface this with that I'm a complete skeptic. I don't really believe in an afterlife or ghosts or anything, but I kind of feel that there might be like energies that like we don't really know about yet and might linger around from traumatic events and kind of like Ghostbusters type stain the area type thing.
You're into stains.
Yeah, I'm into
Yeah,
stains.
Class 5 free roaming vapors.
Yeah, exactly.
That's oof, yeah.
So, and we, when I was in like high school, my family moved into this house, and this house was just old and shitty and had like really bad 60s wiring. Like we actually had to buy converters for like every plug and phone line because there was some weird outdated thing that just the electricity hadn't been updated on. So we move in, and my mom, I wake up one day and I had this really strange dream that I was a little boy tied to a doorknob, and I was in that house, but it looked like it was old, like 60s or something. And I was some dude was beating me to death, and he beat me to death, and then he buried me in the backyard. And now I don't know. I've never been tied to a doorknob and beat to death before, so I assume my subconscious created that, and I was just like, okay, that's pretty weird. And I come out and I'm like, Mom, I had a pretty crazy dream, and she said, so did I, and she didn't even let me talk, and she told me the same dream. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Maybe,
Gotta go.
Yeah, maybe we were watching the same thing that night or years ago, and it was in our subconscious, and just everything synced up in that day to make us have that dream. I don't know. But then a couple weeks down the road, we were having, I'm playing a video game or something, and I'm dying because it was hard, and I'm screaming fuck. Right? And when I scream fuck, the power goes out. And just on like my breaker, my corner of the house, and I'm like, what the fuck? And so I'm like, what the hell was that? And I like go over to the breaker and I flick it on and I sit down and I'm like turning on the game, and I get to that same point, I get fucking killed again, and I'm like, fuck! And then the power goes out again whenever I exclaim. I'm like, what the hell is this? And my mom, being a little bit actually into the supernatural and the paranoid stuff, she was convinced our identical dreams was that, there was a child that was beat to death and buried in the backyard. She's like, it's the ghost. It's the ghost of the little boy, and he doesn't like it when you're angry, and he freaks out and shuts the power off. And I'm like, that doesn't. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You are crazy, Mom. You're a crazy person. It's just this shitty wiring in this house. And so it happens again, and this time I'm furious. And I go flip the breaker, right? And I'm just like, don't you fucking do that again. And the breaker, I just watch it like flip in front of me, and that's how breakers work. They switch automatically. But it, like, as soon as I exclaim, it does that. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I do it, and I'm like, fuck you. And it's like, and I like flip it again, and I like, wait a bit, and I'm like, motherfucker, and it's like, and it goes off again, and I'm like, what the hell? And so my mom's like, stop. She's like, stop, you're just making him mad. And I'm like, Mom, you're crazy. You're a crazy person. And so I flip it again, and I just go mental. I'm like, you motherfucking, you stupid ass piece of shit ghost. Don't you fucking mess with me. I will fucking call the Ghostbusters on your ass. I ain't afraid of you. You're a piece of shit. And your dad didn't like you. That's why he beat you to death. I'm going to play my video game, and you can suck my dick. The whole house goes, and I'm like, and so I flip everything back on, and I go in my room, and I turn on my video game, and I play my video game, and I die in the same way, and I'm like, and I just don't say anything. And then I hear my mom in the laundry room, which was next to my room where the circuit breaker is, and she's going, I'm so sorry. Just don't do that again. He'll be good. And I'm in my room. I'm like, what the? And I'm thinking, what the fuck? And the only thing I feel that maybe like the crazy electrons firing out of my brain when I'm excited was getting into the wires or something. I don't know, man. I ain't afraid no ghosts.
But there might be little boy bones buried in his backyard.
Yeah. We always wanted to like dig up the backyard where I remembered being buried and see if we found anything, but I don't know, we just never got the gumption to do it. Now we moved away from that house, and it'd be really weird to go into that person's backyard and dig it up. But it might be necessary. It definitely might be necessary.
Yeah, I gotta.
If you still live there.
No, I'm gonna go sneak into this other person's backyard, and I'm gonna
Stirabecco style.
Yeah, and I'm gonna dig up these bones, and then I'm gonna flip them upside down and piss on them because that asshole, that little shit, was fucking up my game. And just in case you want to know what game it was Majora's Mask. Okay, all right.
I see it. I'll feel that. All right, let's do some music. Let's bring some light to this.
I ain't afraid no ghosts.
Dark mess.
Well, coming up to Nerdapalooza, I do have the bad news that Diabetes, the new Scrub Club performer, will not be at Nerdapalooza.
What?
Unfortunately, she can't make it out. However, I do have the good news that Mad Hatter
cool.
of Scrub Club will be coming and performing during the Scrub Club set. And I guess I can also reveal that Hormones will be playing at the pre-party.
Oh, yeah.
As will be Kabuto the Python.
Oh, Kabuto.
With his own set.
Kabuto.
And then also performing with his own set at Nerdapalooza is none other than Dr. Awkward.
Oh, cool.
Killer Diller.
So to take us into this musical break, we have Dr. Awkward, Geequilibrium, performed live at Nerdapalooza 2009.
Nice.
The log lady directed us to a cabin further up the ridge from hers, owned by Jacques Renault, where we found the bird Waldo. Several bloodstains that I assume this time will be a match to Laura Palmer, a camera used in producing the photographs of the girls found in Flesh World magazine, a broken poker chip from One-Eyed Jack's, and finally a ball of Finley's fine twine that should match the fibers found in her wrists. We've put out an APB. At this time, Jacques is still at large, as is Leo Johnson. Diane, it's Agent Cooper here, a believer in facts. Diane, 11 p.m. There's a feeling of death in the air, Diane. I can't explain it, but it's as tangible as the air I'm breathing. Maybe it's the evil that Harry talked about. Something is dark and primitive in these ancient woods. I'd like to be stretched out in front of a warm fire somewhere. No such luck.
Welcome back. Kat, what we just listened to?
We just listened to a orchestral track from the Alan Wake soundtrack that was Writer's Dream by the score composer Petri Alanko. And the score throughout this game is just incredible. And the game is broken down into episodes, and each episode ends with a song. And so there's a lot of songs by well-known artists in sort of well-known artists in unconventional fields strung throughout the game, and it really is a wonderful aspect to the game having these episodes. It focuses the storytelling in a lot of ways, which is really cool.
Yeah, when I finished the first chapter and the song started playing, I listened to the whole song.
Yeah.
I listened to the whole song and I ate a hamburger.
You want I mean, maybe not eat the hamburger part, but you want to listen to the whole song. It's cathartic.
If you have a hamburger, eat it.
I mean, there are moments later on in the game where you'll need to listen to the whole song in order to decompress.
Like, seriously, that's what I felt like. I was decompressing.
That totally. Have you guys ever, in a totally weird offset, have you guys ever seen Serial Agent Lane, the anime?
Yeah.
Totally.
Incompletion. It's like one of the few animes that I approve of.
Okay, so best friend Bob and I, we took one weekend, we decided to watch it. And before we watched it, we made some lemon cake, and I totally burned it. So we had burned lemon cake, and we just sat there staring at it while watching Lane. Every time once an episode ended, we were like, ah! And we grabbed for the cake because we just needed something to cling on to.
It's a pretty intense show that messes with the perception of reality.
Yes.
And it's like what if anime Twin Peaks existed and it was kind of focused on, instead of like the alternate reality being some sort of supernatural thing, it's kind of like the Matrix, like where the alternate reality is a digital reality.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant show.
Well, Twin Peaks was hugely popular in Japan. More popular than it was in America in a lot of ways, because Fire Walk With Me was actually successful over there. It was like a blockbuster film that was in theaters for months. Probably because the Japanese like seeing bad things happen to young girls.
Like, seriously, like, Cap, like, I love Lane, and I never connected it to being exactly like Twin Peaks until Hex just brought this up. Like, to the point where I'm Googling it right now to see if it's an influence.
But yeah, it's I can totally relate to that need of something to... a serial experiment Lane. Sorry, not Agent Lane. Thank you, Tyler.
Did you say Agent Lane?
I said serial.
It's
serial experiment.
Serial killer Lane. Yes, we all know.
It's where you experiment with cereal. Sometimes you mix the tricks with the Cocoa Puffs. It is disgusting. Do not do that.
But we totally needed something
do not put orange juice in there instead of milk. You will regret it.
Also, don't do vodka.
No, do vodka.
Of the Crystal Skull variety.
Then you see Dan Aykroyd's future ghost in your cereal.
Oh.
Okay. Well, actually, let's a little further divergence. The influence in Japan from Twin Peaks was so substantial they even based a Zelda game on it. Link's Awakening and the concept of having a town with a cast of characters and sort of a murder mystery aspect is completely derived from Twin Peaks. They fessed up to that recently.
Huh.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
That's pretty, wow.
I'm on the Googles right now, and it's general consensus is no one's officially said it, but everyone makes the comparison between Serial Experiments Lane and Twin Peaks. But yeah, no, I got that when I was playing that Zelda's. That was cool.
Yeah. And there's actually been we've played a fair amount of music influenced by Twin Peaks, but there's actually some other instances as well that are pretty cool. There's an experimental ambient band called Stars of the Lid, who have two very long songs, ranged between 8 minutes and like 25 minutes, I think, long tracks called this music for Twin Peaks episode 30, which would be the episode after the last episode. Both some really gorgeous instrumental tracks that will scare you late at night. And also Anthrax, of all people, did songs inspired by Twin Peaks that they wrote with series composer Angelo Badalamenti.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff. We were going to have Philip Van, the director of Bright Falls, on the episode. Unfortunately, there was a scheduling conflict.
Oh, no.
We will be able to have some kind of content with Philip Van and Nerdy Show in the future somehow. We're working that out. But I didn't want to have this episode go by without us discussing Bright Falls, how good it is, and also the connections between Alan Wake and Twin Peaks.
You know, it's crazy. So there I am. I'm at work. Don't have all my music. I'm listening to Pandora. I'm getting Bright Falls commercials.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've been talking about this on Nerdy Show.
They're talking about Deer Fest?
Yes!
It's only 2 weeks away.
Yes!
By the way, we're gonna have a link on the website. You can see the full Deer Fest commercial as seen in Bright Falls.
With that deer getting crazy eyes.
Yeah, the deer getting you can see that whole thing.
Awesome.
Like as though the YouTube was your television and you were watching a commercial.
Bright Falls is so good. Bright Falls is so amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually, disagree with Matt on the point of it being sort of needless in a lot of ways, because there are needless viral advertising elements, but I feel that Bright Falls stands alone as a film that can be enjoyed by itself, regardless of Alan Wake. And what makes it even stronger is that it does connect to Alan Wake. You get a first-hand experience of how someone becomes a Taken. Like you understand what it is, what that experience is like. And yes, I'm spoiling it a bit. We've been talking about this so frequently in our show and
on our website. That I'm hoping that everyone's already watched it.
And if you haven't, well,
shame on you.
Kill yourself.
But you'll enjoy it nonetheless.
Don't kill yourself. Duct tape yourself to your refrigerator.
And film what you do when you black out.
Yeah.
Now, Philip Van, one of the neat things about him is that he's actually a very young director. He only has 3 major credits to his name that I know of. I believe he's done some work in commercials, but I don't know for certain.
And all by the age of 12. That's so...
Yeah, he's only 12 years old. 12-year-old boy and already a film director. Incredible.
Unfortunately, it was past his bedtime, so we couldn't...
He's a 12-year-old albino boy who helps his dad change light bulbs.
Yeah. He actually has 3 short films, all of which you can see online, and there'll be links to them on nerdyshow.com. And 2 of them are very, very Twilight Zone influenced, and Twilight Zone is also a major influence of Alan Wake. In fact, there's a television show within the game called Night Springs.
Yeah, Night Springs. I watched like almost a full episode of that when I was playing the game today, and I was like, I need to just keep moving because the Taken are coming for me. But
but I want to see what happened.
Yeah, guy was talking about quantum suicide and alternate realities and how he kept pulling his gun to his head and pulling the trigger and it wasn't killing him, and then he would point the gun at a flower pot and blow up the flower pot. It was totally like black and white, Twilight Zone looking, like really bad acting, like really bad special effects for the gun, and I was like, but it was live action and it's really cool.
It's so awesome.
Actually, one of his films, Come Wander With Me, his most recent short film, takes a song from a Twilight Zone episode, Come Wander With Me, and illustrates it in its own unique way. It's really cool. All of his short films are really neat, and I highly recommend checking them out on our website. Philip Van actually wrote and directed Bright Falls. He co-wrote it with Matt Bonnell, and there's also the contributions of the art director, Ben Wolin. All these powers combined made for an incredible experience. From what I've gathered, from what I've read about Phil, he actually grew up in Oregon, and they shot Bright Falls in and around where he grew up. So it was, and he was also a Twin Peaks fan. So the whole experience was very intimate for him. And actually, Bright Falls has been so massively successful, millions of views. It has its own level of popularity that extends beyond those who are interested in Alan Wake. I'd say this is an extremely, extremely successful piece of advertising, but also an extremely successful short film that's captured the imagination of the same people who are interested in Twin Peaks and Lost, and that group of television watchers who want something mysterious and different.
And I think I'm a big fan of looking at advertising and kind of studying it and analyzing it, and I really enjoy the fact that this is basically advertising. This is viral advertising and art.
Yeah. You can have advertising that passes a threshold, and that's just amazing.
Because something is commercial in theory and prospect and production and everything doesn't mean that you can't still make art.
Well, and I think we saw a lot of this with Lost as well. Lost would have advertisements within Lost, but also on other shows on TV
that were part of Lost.
That were advertisements for the Hansa Corporation, advertisements for the Dharma Initiative, Oceanic 815 booking information. Well, not 815, but Oceanic Flight.
Right.
But like, and those.
And I want to try an Apollo bar.
Yeah, those were short films. They were commercials for the show, but they stood on their own, and someone who had no idea about Lost would just think they were seeing a strange commercial.
Right.
And so it's just, I think advertisement can be art.
Right. If done
right. Not
it's not even if it's done right. It's if there's the interest to do it.
right. I mean, I'm not saying Snuggles, the bear, teaching me about poopy paper is art. That's just talking down to me, makes me want to kill myself.
But every now and then, Terry Gilliam directs a commercial, and even though it's about Adidas sneakers, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or with the, I mean, even on a abstract, not an abstract, but a deconstructionist level, the Old Spice Tim and Eric commercials.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's totally making fun of commercials.
Yeah.
It's bringing it down to a deconstructionist level, where it's like, this is a funny commercial because this is how commercials are trying to be serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Bright Falls rocks.
I'll actually, on the website as well, I'll link an article I've written in the past about just selecting some of my favorite artful commercials, just as an added bonus. Back on the topic of Bright Falls, you know, it's so massively popular, both with and apart from Alan Wake, that people are asking both the actors who starred in Bright Falls and Philip Van and the other people involved with the production if there's going to be more.
Wow.
And which is, you know, it's a kind of ridiculous kind of thing to be like, is there going to be more? Someone paid you to do this. Is there going to be more? But the answer to everyone involved with it, actors, directors, or otherwise, is if the fans want it, there will be more because it is very successful, and they would all want to come back and do more.
Wow.
Which is really neat. I mean, that's no guarantee. Ultimately, Remedy controls everything, and in fact, Bright Falls was an afterthought.
Yeah.
Bright Falls was made earlier this year, around January.
And this game has been in development forever.
Since at least 2005.
Yeah.
They were given, Philip Van was given a Alan Wake Bible and basically found what he could work with and told which things he couldn't touch, but worked with that universe, worked in that universe the same way someone would want to work inside the Twin Peaks universe.
Right.
Wow.
So
it's actually rather akin to Matt Haley's story, except instead of him approaching the creative team going, I guess we can do this too.
Now, if we were to get more, I mean, I guess I need to finish Alan Wake because I don't know what that universe even is yet because I'm only through the first chapter. So I'm gonna.
And there will be more Alan Wake, and I'm not just talking about expansions. I'm talking about the game ending with almost a Bond-like caption at the end, and this isn't. I don't think this will be counted as a spoiler to anyone. But it reads, Alan Wake's journey through the night will continue. And I, for one, am fucking thrilled. Because I love everything that they've done with the series, and I love the originality of it. Alan Wake makes you fear the dark. It transposes just a number of metaphors on what the darkness is. When you're driving through the night in your car, and you know that if you get out of it, the taking could appear at any moment, you feel as though you're a traveler going beneath the waves, and nothing outside the car is safe. And if you damage your car, if your car is damaged, like it's your lifeline. When you're out in the night, you're exposed, and you can't see anything. The light is really limited. Everything is coming to get you.
Wow.
It's just an incredible immersive experience, and
Makes
like
me
I
want
said,
to pick up a Lovecraft.
like I said, it transcends the gameplay. The gameplay, like the standard video gameplay, is just the tool used to put you in this guy's shoes.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful for it. People have criticized it for that, but it's not. It's a non-issue really. It is my primary example of what interactive storytelling can be. Because it's so well done.
And one thing that's getting a lot of flack is the product placement.
That's true.
Which only through the first chapter, but I found it only to kind of be subtle.
Yeah, all the batteries in the game are Energizer batteries. All the phones are Verizon. Later on in the game, there are some highway billboards for Verizon and Energizer. There is one tragic moment that absolutely should not have happened, and you'll know it when you're there. And you need to. There's an achievement for watching all the things on TVs. So if you want that achievement, you have to do this.
You have to finish the show. Watch it.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I don't know.
I'm like, damn it! I walked away because I was like, all right.
Here's how this works. There's a scene in one of the mid chapters, and you're running, and everything, the shit is really hitting the fan. You're going through a building, and you see a television, and you can turn it on. if you want the achievement, turn it on. But if you want to have a full game experience, do not turn that television on, because what you will get is you will get a full car commercial and a full Verizon wireless commercial, which completely derails you out of the scene in every which way. It is terrible.
Because when I turned on that TV in the first chapter, and it was the Twilight Zone,
and that's what you'll get every other time. You'll get Night Springs every single time, but this one time, at possibly the worst place it could have happened, there's a bunch of commercials, and
wow.
It's no good. But I mean, that one like annoying thing, that one stupid thing that shouldn't have happened, is completely outweighed by how great the game is overall. Like I can look past that. I don't have to turn on that television. I don't have to get the Xbox achievement. I did turn on that television. I read about that before I ended up doing it, but I was curious and shot myself in the foot in that respect.
So I'm right in assuming the boss of the game is a giant pink Energizer bunny on a Verizon phone.
No, that's the secret boss. You have to get every achievement and you unlock that secret boss.
Oh, sweet.
As well as buying a couple of Energizer batteries just to...
I'm sorry.
And, like, scanning your receipt and...
I'm only buying Energizer batteries now because that's what keeps the taken away. And wait, is it an Energizer brand, like, flashlight or something?
It is an Energizer brand flashlight.
It's a bitchin' flashlight, though. I saw it and I was like, that flashlight looks sleek as hell.
You can actually buy that flashlight.
I hoped so.
You can go to alanwake.com, I think, and there's actually a link to where you can buy a bunch of bizarre Alan Wake merchandise, one of which is a flashlight.
Well, product placement works because I'm going to buy that flashlight.
Let's talk really briefly about some of the instances of Twin Peaks in Alan Wake.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of the themes that are crossover elements. One of the big things that's actually a bit of a distraction from the game is wandering around looking for coffee thermoses.
Yeah. I had to stop myself a couple times from doing that because it was taking me out of the moment.
Mostly what I'm wandering around looking for manuscript pages.
True.
Because the manuscript pages are one of their amazing methods of interactive storytelling, where you find out what's happening outside of Alan's individual perspective by reading the pages that he's written about what's happening in that moment.
And sometimes you're reading what you've just done. Sometimes you're reading what's about to happen.
Which makes you fear what's about to happen.
Yeah. Seriously.
It's really cool.
Wow.
But in addition to looking for those, you'll also accidentally find a shit ton of coffee thermoses. There's 100 in the game. But what I was collecting them for up to 25 was, if you get 25, you get the damn good coffee achievement. So,
because that's
what Agent Cooper says.
That's what Agent Cooper says when he has coffee in Twin Peaks.
And Alan Wake has an FBI agent in it, but he's the complete opposite of Agent Cooper. So much so that in one of Alan's manuscript pages it reads, Agent Nightingale didn't want to be in Bright Falls. These little communities revolted him, and he didn't like the trees or the coffee.
So he's the anti-Cooper.
Yeah.
It's like the Alan Wake universe is like the Mirrorverse.
In fact,
wow.
There's one of the most glaring, but also I didn't get it until someone pointed out to me, Twin Peaks references is there's one of the major landmarks of Bright Falls is a snow-capped mountain called Mirror's Peak. There you go. Yeah.
I mean, there's also like things like the lamp lady.
Right.
Who is just like the log lady.
Yeah. In fact, in many ways, I didn't believe she was going to be an important character, but she's actually an integral character to the story.
Oh, cool.
And she's really, really well done. Like, at first it's like, oh, what a stupid joke. She's the log lady, but she carries a lamp. But it's actually amazing. They took the log lady's character archetype and did their own thing with it in a very fascinating way.
I could imagine. I mean, since it's all about light and darkness, it's this lady who probably wants to make sure there's light wherever she goes.
Yes, she does. And she tells you not to go down that dark hallway.
And she monitors the light bulbs of the town, whether you want her to or not.
Yeah, it's like the police department needs to change their bulbs. It's gone way too long. And like she sounds like a crazy person, but then when the shit starts to hit the fan, you're like, oh my god, I need more lights.
And speaking of ladies who talk in high pitched voices, the front desk clerk at the Bright Falls police station sounds just like Kimmy Robertson. Isn't Kimmy Robertson? I looked it up. But
oh my god, is she going to tell me to? Yeah.
She doesn't
use the blue phone.
She doesn't have the same eccentricities as Lucy, but she talks just like her. which is really funny. And also, this is one passage that's actually really ominous. That means you can take it at face value within Alan Wake, but the certain words that are used, and I know you're going to know what I'm talking about, Mike. Certain words that are used have a double meaning when you put it into the Twin Peaks perspective. I had no sympathy left, no guilt either, not for him. I took a moment to savor the scream. I bet I had a smile on my face. It was all that I had time for. The dark presence was inside the lodge with me.
Oh, cool. God, I want to play this game more.
Yeah, it's really...
I want to watch Twin Peaks and now play that game.
I want to watch Twin Peaks on one TV and play Alan Wake on the other TV.
Yeah. So
what if you do it the other way around? What if you play the Twin Peaks and
while
watch Alan Wake?
Oh, that sounds awesome.
You're going to be...
And I'm going to do it in reverse so I can understand when the midget's talking.
Well, sorry the episode's gone on long, guys, but I guess you'll agree with us that there's been some substantial content here.
Wow.
Some real truth bombs, as Mike said.
Truth bombs, mind blows, everything.
Well, now that we have you, we're going to do our own little bit of pimping.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the Orlando area, check out Maricon. It's Mike. Do you want to say a little thing about Maricon?
It's going to be a comic convention. It's going to be part of the local gay days here. So you can just Google that. I wish I had a website. We'll put it on.
You can be gay, and you can read comic books, and it's cool because this is a gay comic book convention.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think this got to be the only gay comic book convention.
I think it's the first. I don't know if there's been others.
That's pretty awesome.
But like,
I don't care what you do.
But
with
it's a
your
comic
bits.
book convention. Like vendors and guests are coming, so it doesn't really matter what you put your wiener in. You can just go if you like comic books.
There you go.
Or you can go if you put your wiener in a certain type of thing.
Can I show you what I do with it? Like at the convention, is there a booth for that?
Yeah,
it's called Mike's personal booth.
Yeah, it's called in the bathroom. It's stall 3. I'll be in there waiting. Okay, and if you just want to show me what you're gonna do,
yeah, because you got to vet this process. You can't just have people doing this all, excuse the pun, willy nilly.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that sounds professional. I like that.
Also, we'd like to mention that, of course, Nerdy Show is going to E3.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
Mike and myself, and also Colin, whom you've never heard on the radio, but who you will soon meet, are going to be Nerdy Show's E3 team, and we're going to rock it to you with video podcasts every single night that E3 is going on in California. So they'll be on nerdyshow.com, and if everything goes well, they'll be in your downloaded on your iTunes. And we're going to be there. We're also going to be at a number of events that are there, including West Coast Wig Out, which is going to be a major nerd music show.
It's sponsored by Nerdapalooza and Nerdy Show. You're going to have the Megas. You're going to have Random. You're going to have some awesome chiptunes. You're going to have Tanuki Suit Riot. Video game-inspired ska.
And we're going to incite a Tanuki Suit Riot, whether the band is or not.
I'm going to be inebriated and in a raccoon suit causing trouble. Okay?
I need video of that, since I can't make it out to that.
And Colin will oblige you.
I'm going to put on my little raccoon tail from my furry suit.
Unfortunately, the entire costume is that tail, and you don't wear anything under it.
Well, I just kind of paint myself like that unicorn samurai. Just kind of paint myself with the brown fur on.
That's a new level disturbing.
Oh, yeah. Also, I'd like to point out that a little side project that I do is called Media Potluck, and it's a website that my friend, Nerdy Show friend Nick Martin-Nolich, we run it together, and we do articles and exposés on seldom heard or attended to pieces of media, comic books, video games, movies, literature, anything, music. And this next month, all of June, is Cobra Month. That's the Sylvester Stallone 1986 film Cobra.
Cobra!
Not that Cobra.
Not that Cobra.
The Cobra that's a precursor to Judge Dredd. The Cobra that's a policeman who knows that the scum that they get arrested are just going to get put back on the streets, and the only way you can really take care of them is to kill them. This is it's a really bizarre kind of B film, but one that has enough points of discussion that we're going to actually have something different for you every single week.
That's
and
awesome.
To start that off with, we actually have a podcast just about Cobra, and I actually didn't get to participate in it, but it is an incredible podcast, I can tell you, for my own listening pleasure. So, this has been our 19th episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you!
I have been Cap.
Triforce Mike.
Bye, I'm Hex.
I'm still Brian.
Thanks so much for listening.
And what song are we listening to as we go out?
Oh, yeah. How can I forget? We're listening to a track from the Alan Wake soundtrack, and this is by a group called Poets of the Fall. And you may know them because they're kind of Remedy's in-house band. They did a bunch of work for Max Payne. And this is them as some characters from the game, a band from the 1970s who were based out of Bright Falls called Old Gods of Asgard. And this is their song, The Poet and the Muse.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
And stay tuned after this track for a very special goodbye from Agent Cooper.
Enjoy!
Diane, it's 11:55 p.m. I'm dog-tired. A man can only go so long without submitting to a period of rest. For as we know from experiments conducted on American GIs during the Korean War, sleep deprivation is a one-way ticket to temporary psychosis. And I'm working on a 3-day jag. I got so goofy last night, Diane, lying here wondering whether I was going to live or die, that I thought I saw a giant in my room. Perhaps that's a story I'll save for another time. This is me, Dale, room 315 at the Great Northern Hotel, signing off.
Diane, an ogre of a man wearing a cap labeled Nerdcore, has just shoved a piece of paper in my hand and has insisted that I read it. I've agreed to oblige him on the condition that he leave me alone so that I can continue with my investigation. It reads as follows. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Nerdy Show. Nerdy Show is brought to you by A Comic Shop. That's the name of the shop, Diane. A Comic Shop. It's succinct, I'll give them that. Other sponsors include Nerdapalooza and the Oviedo branch of Play and Trade. That's a chain of video game retailers, Diane. You can subscribe to Nerdy Show via iTunes or visit nerdyshow.com for exclusive articles, videos, webcomics, contests, and more. Diane, the internet is a marvelous thing that it extends an American's inalienable rights of free speech to countless citizens of the free world. Nerdyshow.com is no different. The website offers listeners the ability to comment and hold discussions on each episode and posting. Unfortunately, just as with most of the net, every Joe Blow who wants attention does his part to clutter up a civil discussion with needless bickering. But I've been assured that so far discussion at nerdyshow.com has been civil, if not downright cordial. Formal lines of inquiry may be sent to info@nerdyshow.com. You can get all the latest of Nerdy Show's happenings by connecting with them on Facebook or on Twitter @NerdyShow. Diane, as you know, when it comes to social networking, I stumble my way through it at best. I prefer a nice firm handshake to the click of a button, and no 100 by 100 pixel avatar can tell you for certain if someone's friend or foe. But in the interest of keeping up with the fast-paced and modern world, I too have become sucked into the abyss of social networking. You can find me on Twitter @AGTCooper, that's Agent Cooper. I can't tweet too much due to the classified nature of my work, but I do find the time to type out a 140-character anecdote every now and then. This has been Special Agent Dale Cooper, signing off. So Hex, how's Annie?